Oh! Oh, I'm totally... Hey Spider Nerds, Alan here. By far my most requested build is Spider-Man's web shooters, but up until now I've completely avoided them because they're pretty much impossible comic book magic. But after being on Mythbusters The Search and detonating C4 and firing a gun while blindfolded and climbing up the side of a building with a vacuum cleaner, I've reassessed what's possible, and I think I've actually got an idea now that would count as real-life Spider-Man web shooters. This is part 1, and over the next few months I'll be doing project updates about every other week along with my regular videos. That way you can follow along through July when I'm aiming to have these Spider-Man web shooters done just in time for Spider-Man Homecoming. So let's start off by talking about Spider-Man's webs and his web shooters and why they're magic, and what we can possibly do to try and replicate them.
You know what I think is really cool? This webbing. Tensile strength is off the charts. Who manufactured them?
I did.
In the comics, Spider-Man, aka Peter Parker, invents web fluid, which he fires from his web shooters. The web fluid formula is a secret, but is supposedly related to nylon. Spider-Man's webs have such a high tensile strength that an absurdly thin line is enough to support many times his own body weight. That means several hundred meters of webbing can fit into a few cubic centimeters of web cartridge. Magic. The only material I can think of that comes anywhere near that would be carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotubes have a measured tensile strength of over 9 million psi. That means that a strand of carbon nanotubes with the same diameter of my hair would be able to support over 300 pounds. Unfortunately, scientists have yet to create a continuous strand of carbon nanotubes more than half a meter long. So the next best thing that's actually commercially available would be Kevlar thread. Kevlar has a very respectable tensile strength of over 500,000 psi, which means that, as you probably know, it's strong enough to make bulletproof vests out of. This Kevlar line is less than a 1/16 of an inch in diameter, but is rated for 500 pounds. Here's our Kevlar thread. Hopefully you can see that on the camera. It's tied up in the rafters up there. I'm wearing a climbing harness, so let's see if this will support my weight. There we go. Oh, this is weirdly scary. Whew. Alright, I'm taking my weight off now, slowly. Slowly. Oh! Oh, I'm totally... Alright, maybe not. Check it out, it's what they warn you about in every rock climbing or knot tying class I've been in. The knot greatly reduced the weight. It's right where this line snapped. This Kevlar line is rated for 500 pounds. I weigh a little under 200 pounds, and it broke right at the knot. We're gonna try that again, this time with a 3mm thick Kevlar line that's rated for 1,500 pounds. So, if this doesn't hold me up, I don't think anything will. Alright, feeling better about this one already. Oh, okay. Oh. Okay, I'm hanging. It's supporting my body weight now. The problem is, if I'm going to be swinging at any significant speed, the centrifugal force is going to double or even triple my apparent body weight on this line. That's going to require further testing. Whew. I can roll 20 feet of that Kevlar thread into a tube about 1 inch in diameter, so our web cartridge is only going to have one shot. Another magical property of Spider-Man's web shooters are their perfect stickiness. Spider-Man's webs seem to stick to any surface instantly, and they don't come unstuck. When Spider-Man's webs fail, they tend to snap in the middle rather than come off of the surface they were attached to. You might say that Spider-Man's webs are stickier than they are strong, and they're crazy strong. The strongest, fastest acting adhesive that I can think of would just be super glue, but even that doesn't cure fast enough to stick instantly to a surface, and even if it did, it's not strong enough to support my body weight. So how do we get our Kevlar threads to stick to surfaces like Spider-Man's webs? Well, the short answer is we don't. Instead of adhesives, we're going to try using small grappling hooks. Assuming that Colin Furs isn't editing around any extra securing here, it looks like I should be able to build something similar to his small and narrow Assassin's Creed grappling hooks. I also should be able to use a similar launching system. Of course that means I'm only going to be able to web sling from rafters and not the outside of skyscrapers, but come on, that's still going to be awesome. The last magic trick we're going to talk about is one that isn't brought up very often. Now, Spider-Man has super strength and super grip, so it makes sense that he'd be able to swing one-handed on a single line this thin. I, on the other hand, have the proportionate strength of one Allen, and if I tried to swing one-handed on a line like this, I'd probably cut all my fingers off. That means that instead of gripping the Kevlar line, I'll need it to attach to the wrist mount and then detach when I'm finished swinging on it. The wrist mount should also get some kind of tensile support down to a harness so that I don't accidentally dislocate my shoulder. Imagine the harness system used in the Attack on Titan 3D maneuvering gear, but for arms instead of legs. I'll be tackling that in part 2 of Spider-Man's web shooter, so make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell button for notifications so you know when that video comes out. Leave me a comment if you think this plan is awesome, or leave me a comment if you think this plan is dumb and doesn't count as Spider-Man's web shooters. Either way, be sure to check out my other videos, and thanks for watching.